only thing we have to fear is
In war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and the culture. Wallbuilders Live with David Barton and Rick Green. Glad you joined us today. I always get excited about Good News Friday, David, because I know good stuff is coming. I always need that little extra boost of encouragement to know that all that hard work does pay off. So,
I keep running into people on the road and say, we can't tell you how much we love Good News Friday. We never hear this kind of stuff, and we get the same kind of stuff on the fan page. People put that stuff up, and so we're glad that it gets out there. I mean, people do need to know, hey, we're winning a lot of battles.
That's right.
And that's not that we're still in a target-rich environment, no question about it. But we're winning lots of battles, and that's good for people to know because nobody wants to get on a sinking ship.
Right.
And if you're winning some stuff, man, you get encouraged to go out and kick tail in your area, too.
It's easier to get geared up for the next battle if
you
know that we've won some in the past and that other people are out there. You're not alone. You know, it's kind of like Glenn Beck always said on his TV program, you're not alone. You're not the only one.
That's right.
And sometimes people do think that because you get kind of in your little community and nobody else is speaking out.
We see that every year when we do the legislators conference.
Yeah.
These legislators come in and think, man, they're the only pro-family legislator in America, and then suddenly they're in a room with all these dozens and dozens. I think, this is so cool just to find I'm not the only one. And it is. And there's just a ton of folks out there that have the same values, and they're winning stuff, and they're doing good stuff. And so you're right. It is good for them to find out they're not alone.
Well, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is Good News Friday on Wallbuilders Live. We do this almost every week where we bring you good news from across the country. You can also get our program online at wallbuilderslive.com. And if it's the first time and you really like it, go to our archive section and you can get the Fridays for the whole last 12 months. Usually, David, I punt to you right here and say, what's the first thing out of your stack? But could I read an email from one of our listeners? This is a real nice email from Melinda Feltz. She's in Hoover, Alabama. She said, thanks for your daily broadcast. I've watched David on Glenn Beck's show and enjoyed his knowledge of history. So when I found the broadcast, I was thrilled. I listened to the July 4th 3-part series. That's the one you did on America's birthday, and we aired it on July 4th. She said, I was amazed at how little history I was taught in school. I leave for vacation tomorrow, so my iPhone will be loaded with your lessons. Thanks, David and Rick, for Wallbuilders. I pray for your ministry each day. So that's, we don't talk about that much, but that's a great idea. You can download those podcasts. Yeah. Fill up the phone and take them on the road with you.
You betcha. And just looking at the website, there's a ton of downloading going on. And so apparently that's going. And, that's a good thing. You can take this stuff with you, listen anytime you want to. If you get into one of the radio stations, you're kind of fixed on time. If you download it, you can do it anytime you want to or need to.
And you can click on those links. One of the best ways for you to share this information is click on those links and send them out. Put a link on your Facebook page or email it out to your friends. So folks that are listening, you like one of the shows, just click on it and send it out to your friends. A lot of people that haven't heard of the radio program and that maybe they've seen you, David, on television or something, but they don't know they can listen to you daily. That's a great way for them to find out. So listeners, you can help us get the word out. So there we go. All right, let's jump into some good news and share it with the folks. What
good news is there is a glimmer of common sense in Washington, D.C.
Nah, I don't believe it.
So you don't think this is Good News Friday, huh? You don't buy into it.
This is not Delirious News Friday. No, seriously. All right, so there is some common sense in Washington.
Well, it keeps reappearing. I'm loving it.
I shouldn't say that. We have a lot of good friends that are serving in Congress that are very common sense oriented.
And they're starting to prevail in some areas. So here's the headline: the House votes to block the light bulb efficiency bill.
Ah, okay. This is the old deal, the banning the regular
they're banning the light
bulb.
bulbs that work, and we're going to give you light bulbs that don't work. And the House says, let's not be stupid. And so I love the fact the House has voted to block that thing. It's supposed to go into effect in 2012. And, anybody that's been through or kept up with it knows how inefficient those efficient light bulbs are. They don't last long. They don't work well. They're super expensive. And so we've been hearing all over the nation people saying, hey, you need to go buy boxes of 60 watts and 75 because, in a year these things are going to be illegal to have. And at least the House has done this. Now, the bad news is the Senate and the President aren't on board.
Right.
So, the fact the House has done this, it's good. The election of 2010 made a difference, and we got some people who actually used their brain in there.
Yeah.
But it'll get killed in the Senate.
It's going to get killed, but it's still symbolic in a
That's
positive
right.
way. I mean,
That's
it says
right.
there is some common sense there, and that those, the House at least is standing with the American people. That's been
And the
screaming
only
over
thing
this.
we've been hearing in the news recently about Congress is, all the debt negotiations and what's happening at the White House and the President, the Senate, and et cetera, all the stuff going on. That's all right. They're doing a lot of other stuff along the way. And one of the good things they've done is they put their foot down and said, no, it's okay to choose the light bulb of your choice. We do believe in a little choice.
I can't figure out. I mean, show me, David. Here's our, we got our constitutions. Show me in the Commerce Clause where they have the right to do that anyway. This isn't interstate commerce. This is not, foreign nation. It's not an Indian tribe.
Listen, we went through this debate on Obamacare. It's the General Welfare Clause.
Oh, it's just whatever feels
the
good.
General
Whatever we need to
Welfare
do
Clause,
to take care of
you betcha.
everybody. Yeah.
This is
not the individual specific. I mean, they think it's the individual.
This is the general welfare of America that we're talking about
America's
here.
in danger if I burn my 60-watt bulb.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thomas Edison would just not be happy.
So that's one piece of good news. Here's another one that I find very significant. It deals with the fact that Obama has lost 1/3 of his support among Hispanics. And we don't always jump on political stuff here, and we don't go through all the polls and where he's losing support among Jews, dropped from 90% support among Jews down to 56% support.
You're kidding!
No,
I hadn't seen that.
No, especially after what he did with the 67 borders. And
see, I've been saying why not? Why hasn't his support been dropping? So
it
has.
It
been.
has.
Good.
It's dropped in the black community, but here's a massive drop in the Hispanic community. It's gone from 73% support down to 52% support.
Wow.
Now that's significant. But what's good about it is, do you know why it dropped?
No, I'm wondering.
Pro-life issues.
Really?
Yeah, Hispanics said, wait a minute, we thought you were more pro-life than this. You've been the most pro-abortion president in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
And we're not on board with that. The Latino community is a pro-life community.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that he's losing support over life issues. And by the way, the fact that he came out and announced that he is officially going to work to repeal DOMA.
Oh, yeah.
That is another thing that's going to chop into a lot of his support. Black church is not going to be for that. And so he is actually shooting himself in both foot, reloading, shooting himself in both foot, reloading, put it in the side of his head, pull the trigger.
Well, this is actually, this belongs on Good News Friday.
You betcha.
The fact that he is.
It's not a matter of he's going to win or lose. It's a matter of the philosophy that he represents.
Yes.
But it's also a matter of why he's losing ground.
Right.
And he's losing ground for taking bad positions on biblical issues, and that's really significant
Because that
stuff.
means the American people still understand those issues, still
betcha.
have a biblical worldview, and when
they still
realize,
support Israel. They
Yeah.
still support life. They still support marriage. And he's not losing ground because the Republicans are so smart and they're out there running these great ads.
Yeah.
He's losing ground because he's taking anti-biblical positions, and people are saying, hey, that's not who we are.
Yeah, and not who we thought he was.
That's right.
Not you and me.
That's right.
But you had a lot of people vote for him thinking he wasn't so pro-abortion and certainly wasn't pro-gay marriage. I mean, on the marriage issue, you remember when you debated some people during the presidential race, and they said, no, he's pro-marriage, and I mean, he deceived a lot of people into thinking he was pro-marriage.
I called him on
Pro-traditional marriage, I
in
should
that
say.
debate. I mean, he sent out his national guys. I was in that debate with those national guys that he sent down, and I said, wait a minute. He's voted 13 times in the U.S. Senate for abortion. He voted this way throughout the states, and they said, no. He's pro-life on 6 out of 7 issues.
Oh, man.
He's pro-life on the environment. He's pro-life on the poor, like somebody was going to kill the poor. He's pro-life on everything except human life is what it amounted to.
Right.
So his mantra was, and I talked to one of the guys his national office sent down to debate, and the guy was a Christian. He says, if we find out later he wasn't pro-life, I'm going to really feel like I was used. Hey, welcome to being used.
No kidding.
When you've got a voting record as consistent as his was, you shouldn't listen to what he says. You should look at what he does.
Look at what he does.
And so, at this point, the Latino community has said, we heard what you said, we've seen what you've done, and what you've done outweighs what you said. Sorry. And that's, with him saying all the stuff that is placating immigration or whatever else, they're saying, hey, life trumps this, and this is a big deal.
And marriage, I know we're going along this segment. We'll have a short one next, but on the marriage issue, we've won 31 of 31 states.
You
right?
bet.
I mean,
every time we get a vote, it's a big deal.
So
we
when
have
this is
never
out
lost a
front
vote.
and people know about
You
it,
betcha.
they side with us, which
You
means
bet.
now that he's made it so public. I mean, because it hasn't been a one thing. He stopped defending it. Now he's coming out and saying he thinks we ought to repeal it. He's being pretty blatant about it. That's good, because when people find that out, they're going to vote against it.
You betcha. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, quick break. We'll be back in a moment. More good news here on Good News Friday on Wallbuilders Live. Hey friends, Rick Green want to tell you about a great Wallbuilders program called Patriot Academy. It's for 16 to 25-year-old young leaders. We train them in a biblical worldview and how to get involved and make a difference. They get to come to the state capitol in Texas and serve as a state representative. But rather than find out about it from me, listen to the students that are actually there participating.
Patriot Academy is essential to the preparation, training, and equipping of the next generation of conservative leaders.
I just feel that this is the most hands-on experience that anyone our age can even attempt to have.
If you want to get involved in the political process, no matter what area, staff, campaign, you want to be an elected official, this is the place to come to find out and to test yourself if you have what it takes.
And if you're one of those young conservative leaders, you'll find that Patriot Academy will give you an in-depth, hands-on experience as to what it's like to really be part of the political process.
Well, there you have it, friends. A great opportunity for 16 to 25-year-olds to become the next generation of leadership. Find out more at patriotacademy.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to Wallbuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us here on Good News Friday. Appreciate you joining us. I always love Fridays. We get to talk about good news from across the country. And we've been talking about, well, first of all, what people might say is bad news. The president's not going to not only not defend DOMA, but now he wants to work to repeal the Defense of Marriage Act. That's good news because people know where he really stands. What other kind of good news you got?
Well, here's one out of New York, and it deals with bad news. New York passed the gay marriage bill. The good news is people in New York...
Not the people, right? This was the legislature.
This was the legislature.
Well, I mean, that's the people's reps, but still, this was a...
But the legislature refuses to let the people vote on this.
Yeah.
And this is the thing you'll see is liberals, leftists, and Democrats don't want the people voting because they lose every time the people get a voice.
Yeah.
So they say, we represent the people. Well, if you do, why don't you let the people have a voice? And they don't. And in New York was one of those. And by the way, it was Republicans who totally did New York.
What a shame.
Republicans had control of the Senate, could have killed this thing. 4 Republican senators caved in, gave the majority to pass. So I am thrilled to see that they're going after the scalps of those guys in New York.
Good.
Because the people, I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat, you give your word, you break your word, you need to be thrown out of office, or you get there on a value system, you repeal that value system and stand for something else, you need to be thrown out of office. This is great stuff.
And didn't some of these guys, I mean, they said that they would
they
not.
campaigned. They took money and they ran ads in opposition to homosexual marriage.
And
got
then
there
turn around and vote
flipped.
for it. Yeah. Somebody like that's got to be thrown
they
out of office.
They got to be gone. I don't care what side they're from. Well, the good news is that despite the passage of a really bad bill, you have Laura Fertusky. You heard that name before?
I have not.
Probably
I
won't.
remember.
That's a hero. She is a town clerk in New York. Town clerks are the ones who issue the marriage license, and the legislature refused to give any kind of religious exemption to town clerks. And she said, hey, my biblical faith will not let me issue a same-sex marriage license. And she quoted right out of the book of Acts. She quoted Acts 5:29, where it says, the scripture says we ought to obey God rather than men.
Wow.
God says marriage between a man and a woman. The legislature says it's between Tom and Joe and Sally and Mary, and I ain't doing that. I ain't issuing them. And bless her heart for standing up. And that's courage. That's conviction. She got a little bit of press over it, but that's a hero that needs to be held. You know, and to be elected to a position and be willing to give that up because you're not going to violate your religious convictions. That's the person you want in office, somebody who's got backbone and has that kind of stamina.
Absolutely.
So that's a good one. Here's another good one. We were talking early in the week with Governor Perry calling the response and calling the people.
Yeah.
You know, Governor Fallon, I love it. We talked about the fact that thousands of times governors have called for days of prayer. Governor Mary Fallon, good lady, great lady in Oklahoma, has called for a day of prayer for rain in Oklahoma. They've had 140 wildfires. They're just literally burning up, not only by the sun, but just because it's so dry that things are just dying. And so people pray for Oklahoma, but I love it when a civil leader says, hey, we got to have God intervene.
Yeah, speaking of that, you know, with this national one Perry's doing, he's called for prayer in those kind of situations here in Texas in the past as well. I mean, this is not a new thing for him,
It's not a new thing, and Governor Perry actually called a 3-day period of prayer and fasting in Texas. And that's not a small thing either. You know, typical 1 day we acknowledge it and move on, but he called for 3 days to focus on praying and hold to God. And by the way, we did get rain after that.
Yeah.
It's still really dry. We're still in a drought condition, but nonetheless, that
got
prayer
some
did
relief.
result.
And how many times that's happened? I can remember several shows we've done over the years. I think it was an Indiana governor or somebody.
Indiana
that called for
and
prayer.
a Georgia governor, Sonny Perdue, called for prayer.
And rain came.
You betcha.
Yeah, amen.
And so that's all good stuff. And so that's some more good news.
Yeah, excellent. Quick break. We'll be back in a moment with more good news for you here on Wallbuilders Live. Hey friends, Rick Green here to tell you about a great new opportunity to learn about the Constitution and our founding fathers. Chief Justice Jay was exactly right, and never before have I seen so many people interested in doing exactly what he said. He said that every member of the state ought diligently to read and to study the Constitution. By knowing their rights, they'll sooner perceive when they're violated and be the better prepared to defend and assert them. Well, we've done a program that now covers the entire Constitution. It's the Citizen Guide to our founding documents. We go through every clause, every article, every amendment. We get into the founding fathers. We talk about what they actually intended. All of these things, and it's right there in a class. And you can actually attend one of our live classes around the country by signing up at my website, rickgreen.com. You can also get the entire class on DVD and CD, so it's like you're in the room. Go to my website to find out more, rickgreen.com. Let's do what Chief Justice John Jay suggested that we do. Let's read and study the Constitution, and here's your opportunity to do that. It's called the Citizen Guide to our founding documents.